Robin from Backscatter here, and today we're taking a look at our newest optic accessory, the Backscatter M52 Wide-Angle Air Lens. This lens is a must-have accessory for Olympus TG camera shooters. It's a wet wide-angle conversion lens that cancels out refraction and restores the camera's topside field of view underwater, while also enhancing the image clarity and quality and allowing for macro shots without having to remove the lens. It's our new favorite TG-5 accessory, and I'm here to break it down for you and show you why you're gonna want this on pretty much every dive with your TG camera. Here we've got some example clips to see how two TG-5s side by side, one with the Air Lens and one without, stack up next to each other underwater. The M52 wide-angle Air Lens works by expanding the camera's field of view from 60 to 81 degrees underwater. This is the same field of view that you would have topside or in air, and it's basically just canceling out the refraction effect that the otherwise flat port element on the housing would cause. The Air Lens is not as wide as our M52 wide-angle lens, but it's also not trying to be. It's designed to be more of an intermediate wide lens. The M52 wide-angle is still the best tool for the job when shooting exclusively wide-angle, as the field of view is even wider at 120 degrees, and the image clarity is just that little bit better. These clips show two TG-5s with one of each conversion lens equipped. You can see how the wide-angle lens is a bit wider than the Air Lens, but that difference isn't as high contrast as shooting with an accessory lens versus without one. One of the first things that stood out to us as we started reviewing the test footage was the huge increase in image sharpness and clarity. By adding the Air Lens onto the TG-5 system, the footage looked so much sharper and just more defined and better than the stuff captured without an accessory lens. The difference is pretty awesome, because as if we didn't already love the TG-5 enough, shooting it behind the Air Lens just made everything look better. For a little camera like this, to get that kind of boost in image quality, believe me, we'll take it. For pretty much any subject that's about 2 feet, or kind of that arm's distance away, the Air Lens is gonna bring a huge boost to that image detail and clarity. So we're basically just saying, put this thing on and never take it off. It's really easy for us to say also, because one of the biggest benefits that this lens brings to the table is the ability to shoot macro even with the lens installed. That's not typical at all when looking at wide-angle conversion lenses for compact cameras underwater. This is mostly due to the TG-5's microscope mode, which of course is the main reason that we love this camera. Basically, all you need to do is switch to the microscope mode, zoom all the way in, and you're gonna be shooting macro as if that lens wasn't even there in the first place. Now, full disclosure, you're not gonna be able to get quite as close to your subject as you can when shooting without the lens, so you will need to be just a little farther back from your subject. But we're talking difference of inches here, nothing that's gonna significantly change your approach to capturing a good macro shot. Included with every Air Lens is a fiber optic cable adapter, which will be required to hook up a strobe when the Air Lens is installed. If you're shooting with video lights or no lights at all, then this is something you can totally ignore, but strobe shooters, be advised. Because the Air Lens has a wide flange that sits closer to the housing, the standard optical cable adapter included with the Olympus housing will not fit while that lens is installed. Instead, we'll install this new flash adapter by replacing the built-in flash diffuser window. This is pretty easy. You'll just need a smaller Phillips screwdriver and take your time to ensure that you don't strip out the small screw heads or the threads in the housing. We actually like this adapter more than the standard clip for 2 reasons. One is that this is more permanent and less likely to end up lost or forgotten, and the other is that it is totally opaque and blacked out, effectively masking the flash from the camera completely, so you don't have to worry about competing light sources in those close-up shots. Now, the adapter itself has a spot for one fiber optic cable to plug in. This size is what's commonly referred to as a CNC style cable. It looks just like this. If you have an Enon style cable, or basically just the bare fiber optic cable itself with no connector piece, then you're going to want to use the small rubber bushings that are included with the adapter, and then just plug and play. Now, if you're a dual strobe shooter, which is what we recommend for the best wide angle results, then you'll either need to use Enon style cables and the dual hole rubber bushing that's included. Or you can pick up a split or a 2-in-1 optical cable, which of course we do have available for you, and then you're good to go. So let's take a closer look at the gear itself and everything that comes in the box. The lens itself is a machined aluminum frame with a 52mm threaded mount. The lens uses an acrylic element which is coated and cannot be polished, but it's also easily replaceable by our service team if you happen to scratch or otherwise damage it. The lens has a nice rubber hood or bumper which allows for face down resting of the lens and impact protection. The hood is easily removable for rinsing. It has a hard plastic rear threaded cap to keep the rear element protected. There's also the handy little nylon drawstring travel pouch and the fiber optic cable adapter that we're now familiar with, as well as a small security lanyard clip so your lens doesn't end up in Davy Jones's camera locker. The lens is simple to install. The only thing I recommend doing is installing that flash adapter first so that it's out of the way and then we can just thread the lens on. First, just take the lens and loop the security lanyard through the mount on the back, then also on the camera housing itself. Thread the lens onto the housing until it's snug, and then just clip that lanyard together. There's a couple of different holes to loop that through if when your lens is threaded on, one lines up better than the other. You will need to burp the lens once at the start of your dive to clear the airspace and wipe away any bubbles, just like you'd have to do with any threaded accessory optic. After that, you thread it back on, you're set to start capturing both macro and wide angle without having to unthread that lens again until it's time to rinse your system after you're done diving. So, what's the bottom line? Which lens do you get? And when do you decide which one to use? Now, if you're only shooting wide angle, use the M52 wide angle lens for the widest field of view and the best image quality overall. If the wide angle lens is too expensive for your budget, or if you're not comfortable with that bigger, heavier optic underwater, then at least get the Air Lens and you'll still have a really high performance and easier to shoot wide angle conversion lens. Conversely, if you're only shooting macro and stuff this big, leave the Air Lens on the deck for the ability to get that system into the tightest spots easily and for that closest working distance. But for every other dive, or when you want to be ready to capture anything that comes your way with the best overall balance of wide and macro shooting options with minimal gear management underwater while also increasing image quality, thread on that Air Lens and fire away. As always, if you need help or if you have any questions about the Air Lens, wide angle lens, or really any product or anything underwater photo and video related, just feel free to reach out to us here at Backscatter. Your purchases of Backscatter equipment, whether they're from us or one of our authorized dealers around the world, always includes free lifetime tech support, and all of us here dive, shoot, and service everything that we sell, and we're always happy to help out. I'm Robin from Backscatter signing off, and happy shooting.